Oh, we're live. Hello, people. Another video. Sorry for the short break. This is something I've just heard on LBC, the 7th of November, 8:45 a.m. For anyone who's interested in looking it up. This lady's just done a interview on LBC, but I found another article here on the BBC in relation to a lady who's taken out a, or should I say a woman, taking out a private prosecution, the first ever private prosecution for rape. Now that's very interesting. That in itself tells a massive story. But she's basically of the opinion. Well, Nick Ferrari's just had a chat with her on the radio, and he was kind of questioning her in quite a sensitive way, but in a good way, to kind of highlight the fact that she has no case, but in a polite, sensible way. Now, the thing is, with anything like this, if someone believes they've been raped, then you should always respect that belief, okay? If I believe that, pick a historical character who was terrible, was actually a good guy, let's say Mao in China, a lot of people like Mao, or Marxist or whatever. So let's say, oh, they're the greatest person ever. If you're going to start trying to argue with them to say that's a terrible belief, you're going to offend someone, right? I hope I've stressed this before in my videos. It's like arguing with people's beliefs is sometimes it's folly, and it's quite often destined to be a conflict, a confrontation in some way, and so it has to be handled with care. So this lady, let me just get a picture of her if I can. Let me just... There she is. Oh, close that. There we go. So this is the lady. So she's claiming that she's been raped. So we should all believe her. But when it comes to the law and getting, dare I say, a conviction, or at least a judgment, let's say, in her favour, because if it's going to be in her favour, it's going to be to the detriment or against, let's just say, to someone who's committed the rape, whether it's a man, woman, whatever. So if she believes she's been raped, fine, but that's now to try and bring a prosecution to secure a conviction, a judgment. She needs to prove her case, because everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And I'm just going to bring this to some of the funny laws that you might hear in like the Middle Eastern realms, where women there can't bring a rape charge against a man unless there's three male witnesses to the fact. Okay, now you might think that's ridiculous. How on earth can a woman bring those kind of witnesses to speak against a man in relation to a rape charge? And just because this is rape, it's no different in England, right? If this is a murder, like think of O.J. Simpson. If this was a robbery, if there are no witnesses, basically, there's very hard to have a strong case that you can just rest in front of a jury, that they'll be confident in rendering a verdict. Because remember, if there is any doubt, there is no doubt. Okay, beyond a reasonable doubt. But that's not to say that she can't have a case against the man that she believes raped her. But holy moly, good luck. This is going to be a tricky one, and we're going to go into it. We're going to watch this little video, her little interview she did on BBC. I've just heard her on LBC, so by all means listen to that. And so she basically believes there was some sort of drug. I think that GHB is what she mentioned on LBC. Some sort of like drug where you drink it or you consume it, and it just makes you like turn into like a paraplegic drunk, like you've been like 5 times, 10 times over the limit. And so you're barely in consciousness. So she believes she's been taken back to a hotel room, and obviously funny things have been done to her. Funny in the sense of foolish. So yeah, let's just watch the interview and have a little look, and we're gonna see how she conducts herself in this interview, and what the prospects are of getting a conviction.
What condition were you in? I was kind of in and out for a little while. When I finally properly came to, I pretty quickly had this like light bulb moment that I'd been drugged. I'd never felt like that before. I'd never lost 5 hours of my life completely and totally. And wound up somewhere where I didn't know how I got there with someone I'd never seen before.
What condition was he in?
He seemed quite relaxed. He was just watching TV, kind of laughing along.
Was he sober?
Yeah, he was. He seemed sober at the time, and then I found out later that he hadn't even had a drop.
Interesting, the news reporter said compos mentis there, because that's obviously a Latin phrase, which is obviously something used by the legal society or those in law. Compos mentis, was he of sound mind?
Of alcohol, he was completely sober.
What did you say? What did you do?
I'm a bit fuzzy on that, actually. I know that I sort of leaned over, got my things. They were in a pile next to me on the floor, and I gathered up my belongings in my handbag and went into the bathroom and kind of hid for, I think, at least 10 minutes. And I phoned a friend and said, there's something really wrong going on here. I don't feel okay. I feel in a way that I've never felt before, and there's this guy. And my friend rang the police. Yeah.
Do you have any memory of how you ended up in that hotel room on
No.
that Sunday afternoon?
The very last thing I remember is having lunch with my dad. We were in a local restaurant that we go to quite a lot, and we were having lunch. And then the conversation went a bit weird, and that's the last thing I remember.
Holy moly! That obviously is a bit peculiar. I think that's suspicious that you're out with lunch with your dad and suddenly you lose your memory. That's odd. I mean, on that basis, what did your dad do in this incident? Is your dad party to the rape? On that basis, last thing you remember is having lunch with your dad, and then so what? Is your dad? Are you implying your dad had a role in the rape? I mean, how can you count him out? How do you know your dad didn't leave 10 minutes before you woke up? You know what I mean? This is the problem with A, not having any witnesses, and B, being drugged. Is that your testimony and your word can be just completely brought into disrepute? Like, well, she's completely off her head. So anyway, but let's carry on in the hope and the prospects that we may be able to prosecute this. Let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, that's a bit too much. Boom. Okay, so a woman seeking what is thought to be the UK's, remember that's the UK, first crowd-funded private rape prosecution. So she hopes it leads the way for those let down by the courts. I don't know if you're being let down by the courts. The courts is a level playing field. You've got to bring the case, and the case usually is brought by the Crown Prosecution Service or on behalf of the police. Or you can do it yourself, but apparently no one does it on their own anymore. It's all left into the hands of the Crown. Emily Hunt from London, interesting enough, claims she was drugged and raped in 2015. Now let's go back to our good old etymology, in case you haven't seen my other videos, about the oilseed rape reference. Rapier is a sword, oilseed rape. Rape is not a rapier. A rapier is not an instrument of sexual exploitation. It is an instrument of causing rape to your fellow man, which basically means violence. Take by force. It's Latin. Latin in origin is its Latin root. Always go back to the Latin root. Is just violence. I suppose verb would be the act of doing it. Freeze your screen. Yeah. So that's the late 13th century. That's Anglo-Latin. Take by force. To seize, to abduct. So now we're going into abduction, like what people would commonly use as kidnapping. Sorry. To violate. Stuprare. Stuprera. So there we go. Latin rapiere was used for sexual violate, but only rarely The usual Latin word being stop. I don't know. I mean, I don't speak Latin, but there we are. So that's. I mean, if you're going to use the Latin reference, use what the Latin used for rape: to defile, ravish, to violate. Stuprum, related to stuprum, literally disgrace, to disgrace. Yeah, to abduct a woman, to ravish, seduce a man, to seize, to carry off, to force, and abduct. So anyway, have a little look into rape, but the common terminology to say you're going to do a rape prosecution against a man, I mean, I would use a sexual assault. Essentially, it's an assault of a sexual nature. I think it'd be more commonly useful to you in a prosecution. Oh God. Sorry, I just read the next line. No, it's police investigation, but the Crown Prosecution Service, again, I just mentioned them, felt that there was insufficient evidence to proceed with the case. So remember the case. You need witnesses, you need a murder weapon, witnesses, weapon, motive, and obviously the body, which would be herself. She's not obviously a dead body, but it's like harm. So rape, for example, if we're referring it to violence. Did she wake up completely unbruised? Was there a bleeding nose? Was there hair pulled out? Was there anything? Were you harmed in any way? No. Were you in pain? What actual harm was there? So she felt so the Crown are saying there's insufficient evidence. So it's one woman's word against another man's word. And the only other thing here would be the dad, but the dad, unfortunately, is not really an independent witness because that's her dad. So what would be more interesting now is what the hell happened to your daughter during the meal that you had with her. I mean, you could just argue maybe the dad had debts that he had to pay. Maybe this is a sick way of him paying a debt. Who knows? Miss Hunt has hired a barrister. Okay, so she's going for a private prosecution to crowdfund it from public money, to hire a barrister to enter back into the legal realms. Any one of us can go down to the magistrate's court, especially if it's a breach of a peace or a criminal matter. It doesn't cost you a penny to start those off. From what I've seen when I go down there, if someone's punched me in the face, I'll go down to the magistrate's court and say, that bloke there, I've got a picture of him on my phone, or I've got these two witnesses who know that his name's John Smith. They saw him punch me, and this is my case. And then, boom, they'll take it from there. You don't necessarily have to have the Crown Prosecution Service. Okay, but the Crown Prosecution Service, and then to hire a barrister is to basically indirectly go back to the Crown Prosecution Service to get a second opinion in a way. But now you're going to crowdfund it from people's money to refund the Crown privately to prosecute it. So yeah, I'm not sure about that, guys. You get my official donator beware stamp there. I mean, not that we don't want to help this lady. We certainly do want to help her get justice if she believes that she's been raped. But let's not throw money at the barrister when you might as well just throw the same amount of money at the Crown Prosecution Service, who says on behalf of the taxpayer, there's no case. There's no case. So there we go. Filmed her naked. Now this is interesting because if the guy has filmed her naked, and let's say the guy's uploaded it or shared it with friends, or has just kept it. I hope he hasn't. I know this is a strange thing to say, but I hope he hasn't just kept it on his own phone. Because if there are images of this and it's out there on the internet, this will be it's basically filming the murder. Like people have a perverse thing of filming their wrongdoings as they're doing it. So this would be amazing admissible evidence to put in front of a jury to see, well, why am I lying there like a zombie and I'm being raped or sexually assaulted? Or, as we've all learned together, the new hip word is stuprare, whatever that means. Yeah, so this is the key bit of evidence that could push the jury one way or the other. Because bear in mind, the jury, and I've literally just put this in the Skype group, but the jury, at its own hazard and peril, at its discretion, can interpret the facts and the law. Okay, so a jury can find you guilty if there's self-incriminating evidence that you plastered around the internet. So yeah, there are no witnesses, there is no evidence, there is no case. But the act of you filming it, and then let's hope he's uploaded it to something or shared it among friends, then he's basically incriminating himself now as like a I don't know, like a self-indulgent trophy kind of exploitation of your fellow man, by using a bit of GHB and going out and whipping up a lady, for your own sadistic motives. Then by all means spread that on the internet. But bear in mind that's now out in the public domain, and if it's out in the public domain, it's no longer private property that can't be used against you. So yeah, let's hope. I mean, obviously it's horrendously embarrassing. Let's hope that's happened. So that now brings the case back in possibility of prosecution. Ms. Hunt, who has waived a right to anonymity, privacy. Just to say, waived a right to privacy, but obviously we have to change that word around to some fucking nonsense word. Told the BBC's Victoria Derbyshire programme, on the day of the alleged rape, she woke up completely naked at 10 p.m. I mean, that's a bit early. In a hotel room. That's interesting. Next to a man she'd never seen. So now you can say, why was this man in a hotel room? Is that a normal thing? Was he visiting? Does he live 20 minutes away and he just thought, hey, I'll get a hotel room for this one? So that's another interest. How did he pay for that hotel room? What name did he book himself under? So this is the second bit of big clue evidence that you need to investigate. CCTV, it's probably gone now, the CCTV footage of the hotel, but there'll be a payment record on the man's credit card. Has he checked in there before? Is this guy a serial raper? Has he raped many other girls? Are there other people who can come forward and say, you know what, I think something similar happened to me? So this is a big potential lead. A man she's never seen. Her last memory was that of that day was between 4 and 5. She's been having a meal with her father, which is just, well, this is what I was saying earlier on. What the hell? You end up with a meal with your dad, and you end up in a hotel room, thinking you've been raped. Dad, what the fuck happened? When she finally came to, she added, she had a light bulb moment and she had been drugged. I can completely agree with that. I mean, fucking hell, I've never felt like that before. And now I'm naked in a hotel room with a dude I've never seen. Yeah, I think that's credible. I'd never felt like that before. I've lost 5 hours of my life and wound up somewhere where I didn't know how I got there. She said she hid in the bathroom and phoned a friend, who rang the police. With no memory of the encounter, Miss Hunt was not aware they had sex until the police informed her that they had found used condoms in the hotel room. Well, used condoms don't necessarily mean sex. This is the point. The police said, well, we found used condoms. Yeah, okay. Did the police actually see anyone having sex? This is like I say, well, they're just speculating now. They're putting 1 and 3 together to presumably means that the balance of probabilities, I think, is what their society use. But until someone can actually say, yeah, I saw them having sex, which isn't going to happen, who's to say that he did use those condoms for sex? The man told police that they had sex. Oh, there we go. Okay, so he's incriminating himself. They had sex, but insisted it was consensual. Okay, so he's admitting that they had sex. So that did happen. Now that's very interesting. But he's obviously saying it was consensual, and she's saying that it's not. So the matter of sex now is on the table from the defendant, if you like, which will be the defendant, the man. So he's saying, yeah, we had sex, but she was totally up for it, no problems. So that's where, again, you can go back to the video evidence and say, well, let's see how consensual that was. Was she lying there like a potato? Was she actually enjoying it? This is the crucial thing. Because, okay, it was consensual. As in, yeah, she agreed to drink this lovely drink of GHB, as this girl reckons it was. But let's see how consensual the actual lovemaking, dare I use the word, was. And the jury, jury's not stupid. There's 12 people. We all, 12 people are grown-ups. We know the difference between someone lying there like a vegetable and someone actually engaged in lovemaking. Miss Hunt believes it was rape, as she would not have been able to. She would not have been in a state to consent. State is a very poor word to use. State is like the United States of America. It's lying in state. Government. There's so many different meanings of state. I would change that word completely. No, don't even use it for this. Consent, obviously, is a contract. Right, police told her that the man had also filmed her naked and unconscious on the bed, and had carried out a sexual act over her body. Police told her. What the fuck? Did he show the video to the cops? What the toxicology report? Right, this is all DNA evidence and toxicology, right? It's not really. I mean, it's admissible in a legal case, but it's not really admissible in. You know, you're looking for witnesses, man. You need witnesses and evidence, like physical evidence, like the condoms, for example, would be evidence, and the jury could take a view on that. The videotape is evidence. Now, going into blood toxicology reports where you don't have chain of custody. You don't have complete control over chain of custody. Then you never know what happens to those things while they're lying around waiting for the court case to happen. The police referred her case to the Crown Prosecution Service, who, upon viewing CCTV footage and toxicology tests, decided there was not enough evidence to proceed. So they did have some sort of CCTV. That's interesting. CCTV footage of Miss Hunt, here we are, and the man showed them kissing and holding hands as they walked to the hotel after leaving the bar. Wow. That's pretty crazy. Toxicology test taken almost 9 hours after her last memory showed Miss Hunt was at least 2 times over the drink-drive limit. Well, now, was that alcohol or was that GHB? But it came back negative for any signs of date-rape drug. Oh, right, okay. Now, apparently date-rape drug goes out your system in about, 6 hours, apparently. I mean, but alcohol. So there was alcohol there. And this is 6 hours after she got drunk, and she was at least 2 times over the drink-drive limit. That's interesting. Because quite often, they splice alcohol with GHB in order to get you to drink the wine or the booze. But again, this all comes back to the fucking dad. What the hell was dad in all of this? This just doesn't make any sense to me. How do you end up having lunch with your dad getting removed from the equation, to you then being completely date raped, if you like, and going to a hotel room all within 5 hours? I mean, it was all over and done with by 10 o'clock, which is interesting. That's an interesting timeline in my own mind. Thorough investigation. She estimated the cost of a potential private rape prosecution would be 50 grand. Incorrect. Okay, yeah. If you go and get barristers and you stretch out the legal process, you want to get the legal society involved, and they're going to take their cut. The cost is zero. You need to get the facts and evidence yourself. The first thing you do is create your case, and then you get you send out court orders for the information that you require, which you believe will be helpful for your case. She was hoping to be crowdfunded, yeah. So people are going to throw money at this at the barrister, who's well aware that the Crown Prosecution Service have dropped this because it's just there is no case, and from what I can see, there's a very weak case at best. I mean, it depends on the strength of certain things, like the video footage. The dad needs to say what the hell happened and what circumstances did he leave his daughter in. And even then, CCTV footage showed her kissing and cuddling the man. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be a good one to get around that. I mean, do you kiss and cuddle if you're on GHB? Do you just kiss anyone? I mean, obviously you're not in sound mind, but I don't know. Show that to a jury, you can sway it the whole other way. It's an amazing thing that we as individuals. Oh, this is good. I think it's this one. There we go. So individuals. So this is stepping over into a legal dictionary or legal information institute. So take from this as you wish. But this is basically the word person. So obviously, if you don't know what person is, just person is a thing. Basically, the word thing, meaning human being, child, individual, shall include every infant member of the species Homo sapien. Now, for all you Darwinists here and your origin of species, Yeah, Darwin was a complete Christian, and his origin of species was the way that I'm looking at it at this particular point in time is that the species of Homo sapiens would be what the Jewish people would call the Gentiles, like these people descended from monkeys or apes or whatever you want to call. So the people who are not like good godly people, the people who steal from you, the people who rob you, the people who sexually assault you, all these animals derive from animals. They are not of mankind, so they are of the species of Homo sapiens, who was born at any stage of development, at any stage. Individuals, child, human being, person, infantile, like they're incapable of self-governance. Let's crack on. There we are. That's a little eye opener for you. The Metropolitan Police said it carried out a thorough investigation following Mrs. Hunt's allegation and will always provide support to anyone who reports a serious sexual offence. So even the police are saying sexual offence. And at the top here we're saying, like, we're going to take a private rape prosecution. So the police are using sexual offence. Miss Hunt's complaints over the investigation were independently reviewed by the Independent Police Complaints Commission. Yep. Well, she's complaining. Meh. She doesn't know what she's doing. Obviously, she's a woman. So, and none of us know the difference between a complaint, because at some point here it said about claim. She's making a claim, and now she made a complaint to the Independent Police Complaints Commission, and it was not upheld. Anyone who knows anything about having a watertight case would look at this and think, you know what I mean? If it was a rape, which let's say it probably was, then unfortunately there's no way that we can prove this man's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt because of, unfortunately, the nature of what happened that day. The CPS says, having looked carefully at the available evidence, a specialist prosecutor. Now, who do you think a specialist prosecutor would be? Do you think they might be like a state barrister, perhaps? Someone who really knows about criminal prosecutions? Yeah. Decided that there was insufficient evidence for a realistic prospect of conviction in the case. A further review, conducted at the request of Miss Hunt, upheld the original decision they added. Yeah, so unfortunately, that is the truth of the matter. Is one thing. The ability to prosecute a man and hold him accountable for this is another. And the only things you got in your favour is the videotape, the condoms. Who is this guy? The hotel booking. How many times has he booked at that hotel? Where does he live in relation to the hotel? Where is there a story that you can put together that will help a jury understand that this does not make sense? And that's basically it. How do you get hold of GHB? How would this guy get hold of GHB? If that's what you're accusing him of doing, how would you get hold of GHB? Has he got friends who get hold of it, or is he in a business that can get hold of GHB? I have no idea where you get GHB from, but these are the kind of questions that you'd have to have. Not to have. It wouldn't be a watertight case, but it might be like a 60-40 kind of ability to sway the jury at best. And it'd be interesting to get the man on the stand if you can question him and say, what's my favourite? How long have you known me? You could get character witnesses from your friends saying, how many times have I had a one night stand? Get people to say, well, she's never had a one night stand. She's a Christian who's done this, that, and the other. She's never, she's been holding out her whole life for the right husband to come along, and then she's not someone who would normally go out and sleep with strangers. Is there anyone who can testify to your character to convince the jury even more that this is out of character and clearly you must have been under the influence of something, And in that respect, are you a drinker? Or are the people who say yes, she gets drunk and hammered all the time, or are people going to say no, you're not really a big drinker? Again, your dad in all this. What the hell happened since your dad left? You need your dad to go up and say, Dad, what the hell happened? And the jury needs to hear that as well. But yeah, like I said, just donate or beware, okay? It's not incredibly hard to learn how to do a criminal prosecution by yourself. If this woman wants to go ahead and do it, by all means, she has every right to do it. But the nature of the innocent till proven guilty, it's going to be so hard to get a conviction. And I point back to my earlier reference to, like, in the Islamic world, why a woman needs 3 men to testify on her behalf against a man for the crime of rape. And it's not like that in England, but you definitely have to have compelling evidence to do it. So I would say to all women out there, be very careful about going home with strangers, and if you're accepting drinks from people, okay, nothing's for free. And let's say this guy bought her a drink. Oh, it's ready here. It's at the bar. My mum had some friends who were in a wine bar, and some guys are at a table. And the guy said, "Oh, we're leaving now. Can you finish our wine for us? We're off. We've got half a bottle left." And these women sat down, accepted the bottle of wine, and started drinking it. And then they realised that the 2 guys who said they were leaving were actually still at the front of the bar. And then one of the ladies' legs just completely wouldn't work for her. So these are the kind of things you have to be aware of, is why you don't take sweets from strangers, even if those sweets are alcohol. Yeah, there's a reason you need to protect. You have to protect yourself first and foremost. And your dad was even there, and that still didn't seem to happen or seem to work out. So it's a very interesting case. It's not saying that it didn't happen, but to prove it in a court of law is most tricky.